yoga in a sauna after I had this big conversation about, well, I'm doing Bikram, not great at it, but I'm getting better, and I'm doing recovery with an infrared sauna. And my good friend Jerome said, you know what, they should do yoga in a sauna. Well, you know what, that makes perfect sense. Recover from your workout while you're actually working out. So since that time, went back to New Orleans where I'm from and designed this sauna, eventually got a patent, and we opened our first Saltworks location on February 13th, Oxford, Mississippi, so I have to say howdy to that, in 2017. And we've grown to, we'll open our 700th location next week.
It's pretty impressive.
All based on recovery.
You know how hard it is to have one, let alone 700. Shit, I want to stop it too. Dr. J, I obviously know the story of, Therabody and, how you started the Theragun, but give everybody just a quick little backstory as to why you came up with the product. And I'm sure everyone here probably, if you don't have a Theragun, you probably have a shitty knockoff version. So you got to get the real one, right? But yeah, tell us how you came up with the product and why. How's that differ from other recovery tools?
I came up with the first one from pain. I was in a motorcycle accident. Pain is a big motivator, as you can all understand, because we've all had pain at some point in our life. And the pain that I had created this necessity. They say necessity is the mother of invention. So as a chiropractor, I was in a horrible accident, motorcycle accident in LA, and I was dealing with neck pain. I was trying to find a way that I could treat myself. It drove me crazy that I had to go to somebody else to have them treat me. So I was just looking for something I could use to take the pain away. I think that's probably one of the things that people don't know about Theragun, that it's actually better for pain than it really is for massage or performance or anything. And then over the years, in the early days, it got me out of pain. Then the next thing it did was increase my range of motion by working on my nervous system in a certain way. And then the next thing it was doing was recovery. Before recovery was a thing. This was in 2004, 2005, 2007, 8, 9, before foam rolling was around. So I started using this thing in the gym immediately after my workouts, and I wasn't sore the next day. So I scaled that. I don't know if you've ever heard this term, your network is your net worth. I just used my network. I just reached out to physios and people that I knew in different parts of the world and asked them, what do you think of this? And the feedback I would get was very literate because they were in that space. Performance, high performance. So as we grew as a brand, I just was constantly validating what I was doing with my network. People think that I created a lot of these things, and I did, but I couldn't do it alone. It had a lot of input from a lot of different people. And if I can make a 1% difference in Ronaldo's life, then I feel like I can make a huge double-digit difference in the rest of everyone's life, applying the same principles we do with these athletes to an everyday person. And then the science gets a little bit trickier. How soon you do it, when you do it, how quickly after workout you do it, what products you're using to do those things. And that's where Therabody University comes in, do the educational part of it.
On the recovery aspect, you guys have been in the game for a long time. And when I first started working out, there was no recovery. I started working out at 14, 15 years old, and it was always hit the throttle, push hard. You guys experienced basically a lifetime of that, double what I've experienced when it comes to how much you should be pushing. You guys were like the first ones in the door when it comes to recovery. Now when people say to you, hey, I don't have time to work out, let alone recover, what's your statement to that?
I would say do them both at the same time. Because for me, doing Bikram yoga for 90 minutes as an executive, it's just too long for me. It's a great workout, not knocking it at all. But if you can get the same result in 30 minutes, plus get active recovery from infrared absorption and from the heat. And then, by the way, there really are two separate things. When you look at an infrared sauna, you can't just think about the heat. You have to get close enough. You have to be about a foot to 3 foot from the heat source in an infrared sauna to actually get the absorption, right? So that's why we deliver it inside of a sauna. But if you can, our motto that sort of evolved after we figured out what we had is more workout, less time. So if you can get the same result in a third of the amount of time, plus even more because of the therapy of the infrared, then I don't think saving customers time is ever going to go out of style.
Dr. J?
I think we need to get very fundamental about what we're doing. We have a sympathetic nervous system and a parasympathetic nervous system. It's part of our autonomic nervous system. And to your point, you're not getting stronger when you're working out, and your nervous system is in sympathetic state. So to get your body to a place where it recovers, you have to get into a parasympathetic state. It's a lower heart rate, your body heals, so the skeletal muscle relaxes, and your smooth and cardiac muscle can now start doing what it does. And they can't work at the same time if you're getting true recovery on a crushed workout. So the idea, I think, is people understanding you have to be resilient. You have to find harmony in sympathetic, parasympathetic states. And to be able to get your body into a parasympathetic state after having crushed yourself in a workout, I tell people it's just the way it is. Like, you can't continue, like you said, to throttle it, that you're gonna run into some problems. So for me, it's really educating people to understand why breath work, why meditation, why stillness. It resets your nervous system. You have a sort of blank reset you can actually do, and it gives your body more resilience, more power, more strength. Your growth comes in those moments. So that's kind of how I look at it.
I think one of the things that, and I'm sure a lot of people in this room could agree with, is one of the things that a lot of people deal with here in the city is restlessness and not being able to sleep. How important is recovery to that? And if you have the opportunity, it's like, hey, and I'm guilty of this all the time. Before I leave the gym, I'll do like 30 or 40 minutes and I'll try to hammer myself at 8, 9 o'clock at night. But am I better off going and resting and recovering or trying to do something else?
I think that's one of the biggest places we cheat on, is sleep. And we justify it. I mean, by show of hands, how many in here slept for 8 hours last night? Right? No, 6? 6? So, like, if you think about that, I'm not trying to shame anyone, but if you back up a little bit, it's probably because of your sleep routine. You're probably not going to bed at a consistent time every night. So let's back up for a second, you'll mind. If we were all 9-year-olds or 7-year-olds, our sleep routine would be how important? It'd be the most important thing. Your parents are making sure that we know what bedtime is, and we're backing into that. We're gonna have dinner this time, we're gonna have bedtime stories this time, we're gonna have bathtub this time, and it's a routine. And as adults, we get out of that routine. So I would bet that if you put a routine together where you knew at 10 o'clock, I'm gonna go in my bed, I'm gonna pull the sheets down, fluff my pillow, put my jammies on, brush my teeth, sit down and use my Theragun, do meditation, breath work, whatever that is, and prepare to sleep. And then give yourself the time to sleep. We could talk about sleep all day. We have sleep products. I'm gonna finish with hand like these guys. We have sleep products. They're specifically made to help you sleep. Physical products. Go to our booth, you should try it out. I'm not trying to sell you, but I'm literally telling you. In our very first study we did, we have 33 published studies, all on our website. The very first study we did is how to use Theragun on your body to help you sleep, which is not what you would think. So that sleep is number one most important thing. Try and go without sleep versus food. You can't go as long. You start to go crazy.
Yeah, I would add to the sleeping thing in terms of infrared therapy and sitting in a sauna and now working out inside of the sauna. And then I'll also, know it's well documented that it's good for sleep, right? But the timing of it is important. And to your point, if you work out too close to your sleep time, you're going to disrupt it, right? And I know this from personal experience, but I will tell you, if you time it right, and if you're also applying infrared therapy, and you sleep like a baby. We have thousands of reviews across the country that rave about going to Hot Works, and if they get the timing right, they're going to have a wonderful sleep.
I mean, you come from a generation where recovery and infrared saunas, I just don't feel like your generation adopts it as much as the younger generation. I mean, even for when I was growing up, no one was thinking about infrared saunas or cold plunges and all this stuff. How is it that you guys were so ahead of the curve, right? Putting a workout in the infrared sauna. You're thinking outside the box, you're doing something a little different. Where did that all come from? And why were you so willing to do it?
I would say, for me, my business partner Nancy gave me a book in 2011. It was the biography of Steve Jobs, and it changed my life in a few different ways, in quality of the business that you open, that type of thing. But also just understanding that you need to bring something to market that you know that the customer is going to want and use, even though they have no clue what that might be. But you know it, right? Because you feel that in your gut. And you just have to launch out there and have the courage to do it. And if it's a strong enough feeling, you probably hit it. You probably nailed it. But you can't wait for some set of customers or a customer to tell you what that's going to be. You just have to dream it up, and you have to put it into the marketplace.
Yeah, from a business perspective, you guys were both pretty revolutionary as to what you guys did. As somebody who's pushing this event, and I just feel like I'm doing everything, banging my head up against the wall, trying to figure out how to do this. You know, you guys have been very successful at what you've done. How many times have you ran into that wall where you're like, all right, maybe people aren't ready for what I'm trying to give them? I know the benefits, but, you know, just for my own personal knowledge, I want to know how many times have you hit that wall where you're like, all right, fuck this, I'm not going to do it anymore. It's stupid. Nobody likes my idea.
I honestly think that's part of the recipe. There's a rhythm when you're creating something, in my opinion. I've found that there's a rhythm when I'm creating something. And I'm going to be cutting ice. I'm going to be breaking through these patterns way before anyone else is. And I've had to be okay with that. That you're the only one standing, the only one with this message. You feel like you're the only one that's sane in the room. And then it comes around. And when it comes around, it's so much better than you would have ever imagined. So I think you and I know each other like we do. The success, what people would think is success for this, probably doesn't hit you until September, right? Because it's like, oh my God, that was so amazing, but like getting to this point, it's a lot. I don't think those rhythms change. When you're building something, there are moments of loneliness, and that's just part of the recipe. There are moments of doubt. What Zach was talking about, the voices in your head, man, if you could hear what these things are telling me sometimes, I think we all have those. I've accepted that that's just part of the recipe. And if that's not happening, then there's probably something I'm not doing right. I should feel a little lonely. I should feel a little frustrated. That's just part of creating something. And then when you're turning around and trying to do what you're doing, share with the world, that's a lot of one-to-ones. And it takes a while to get to where it's one-to-many. And just understanding that process for me is that's the biggest thing.
My response to that question would be to just give an example, right? So we've launched many different products, supplements, workouts, etc., you name it, into the marketplace. Most of them have been a hit, but we've had some duds. So you can't be afraid to launch something into the marketplace and fail. It's going to happen. You do your best job. The example I'm going to give is we knew we had to have a hot bar workout at one point for Hot Works. It's been like 4 or 5 years ago. So in my mind, you can't have a bar workout without a bar, right? So we came up with a portable bar that we found that would fit inside the sauna. And we filmed the workout, good workout, had a bar, and we launched it in a small, thank God we didn't put it everywhere. right? But we put it in about 5 locations, and it got like ho-hum reviews. So I pulled it. I said, you know what? About a year and a half later, we came back to the market. This time, we changed the name of the workout from Hot Bar to Hot Bar None, with no bar whatsoever. And we filmed the workout, and we used the back of the sauna, and customers loved it. And they've loved it ever since. It's one of our most popular workouts. But we had to fail to get it right, you know?
But it's pretty innovative, right? I mean, you're just basically taking out the one element that the workout needs, and you took it out. What do you attribute that to?
I mean, trial and error, you know, in that particular case, we put that bar in there, and it just didn't really, it messed it all up, right? We took it out, we changed the name, customers love the workout, and it is a bar workout, it's just no bar.
There's definitely some entrepreneurs that I know very well in the crowd. When did you guys, or do you ever hit that point where you're like, all right, I can settle back? Because as entrepreneurs, you're always like, there's more I can do. I need more, I want to create more. Have you hit that point where you're like, okay, I'm happy with where I'm at? Or are you guys just as hungry as you were day one? You have 700 gyms, you have a massive company, right? I mean, everybody's like, do you like what's going on here? I'm like, well, yeah, I wish there was 5,000 more people. Yeah, I'm okay with it.
I mean, from day one, we said, I said, I guess as CEO, that I feel like that this concept is a 1 for every 100,000 people concept. And since that time, we've fully developed in towns like New Orleans, and, Memphis, Dallas, etc. And sure enough, the ratio is 1 for every 100,000 people, and it works, right? So having said that, 700 is not going to complete the mission. Right, if you got a nation that has 350 million people, yeah, you need over 3,000 locations to keep it convenient for everybody. So you got a lot of runway, you got a lot of work left to do.
I like that math. 2 things. I learned along my journey that at some point my dream had to be so big that I never saw the end of it. Otherwise, I'd stop working. You get this sort of satisfaction, like I reached something. So for me, it's like, I want to make something so big that I'll never see it happen, so that I can continue working and staying humble. That's the first thing. And then the other thing is, it's about timing and understanding when to hit the throttle for yourself and when to back off. So I don't know that I'll ever rest or I'll ever get to a point where I'm like, reach that goal. Because the math that you were just talking about, there's 8 billion people on the planet. And my goal is to have a Theragun in every house. I don't think I've hit 1% yet. So I got a lot of work to do, our company has a lot of work to do, and that's what drives me. So I like the math idea, we've done that, that's kind of how we've looked at things. But also for me, I know I'll never see that. Like, I won't live here long enough to have a Theragun in every house, so I'll die trying.
Well, good. I'm glad I have no hope in this thing. So I'll keep scrounging for this whole thing. I want to just open it up. We don't have a ton of time, but I want to open up to one question. You have 2 gentlemen here who've created massive companies, and it's so impressive what they've done. And I know we got some people in the audience who might want to have some questions. So we got time for one if we got anybody.
What was I think you probably talked about it, but failures and how failures lead to greater success, and I think the bar into the no bar. I know when I opened my first gym, I was like, this thing sucks. Like, I love it, but I don't know if anybody else loves it, and I'm gonna fail at it. And immediately, when I thought I was gonna fail, I started thinking, okay, what's my next venture? And that was cool because it took me almost 40 years to get to the first venture. But as soon as I did it, I was on fire to find out what the next thing was that worked. So what is that, like a failure that led to your successes?
I mean, there have been many. sometimes I say, you have to fail yourself forward. I mean, you have to accept that you're going to have a lot of failures, but if you, the old saying goes, if you learn from your failures, you haven't failed. If you never quit, right? That's the main thing. Never quit because you failed. Learn from it, fix it, and take more action. And keep doing it like that, and eventually you should outpace the failures with successes if you do that.
Failure to me is only a failure if you stop. So I think failure is a fucked up word. Like, fuck failure. If you go out there and look at the Theragun that's out there in our booth right now, that's my 15th Theragun. And every time you release one, I already know what I'm doing next. So failure way forward is a great one, but I fuck failure. Like, I'm not gonna fail. I'm gonna probably lose a little, take a step back, but that always gives me time to take a step forward. So, I teach my kids, just you don't fail because you're gonna get up the next day and you're gonna do it again. But every Theragun, all 15 along the way, were huge failures, from manufacturing to electronics to tech we wanted to get out. Like, it was all failing. And what you see in the front of the packages is like, wow, that's amazing. And I'm like, yeah, we probably could have done that better. Need to do that a little better. And I think that's just part of learning. And I get excited. Like I said, if I'm not feeling like I've kind of failed a little bit, then I've missed something. I know it's a little twisted way to look at it, but that's just part of the recipe, so I don't get so distraught if something bad happens. If that makes sense.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for sharing all your wisdom. Thank you guys so much for coming out here.